part 2 of Genealogy for Beginners using FamilySearch.org. And this part 2 is Documents and Resources. What am I looking for? And today we've got Renee LePerrier and
Danielle Burns.
We've got a name, place, and date or two. There are two main types of records, two major groups that you're looking at, public and private. And in public records, you're looking at governmental records, federal, state, county, and municipal. Whereas with private records, you're looking at non-governmental entities, churches, organizations such as like the Daughters of the American Revolution or the Daughters of the Republic of Texas, and then commercial and business entities. Any of those, generally it's harder to get those. With public, you can submit FOIA requests, the Freedom of Information Act requests, and they usually will be able to get you those, sometimes for a fee. And sometimes it's a little tricky on things like death certificates and birth certificates. A lot of times there's a time frame during which you cannot get them. For example, federal censuses are closed for 72 years after the census. So right now, 1940 is the most current you can get, and the 1950 census will be available in 2 years, in 2022. So just think, now's the plug for Census 2020. Going to take advantage of this opportunity and encourage you, if you have not filled out Census 2020, please do so. Money, services, and history ultimately. In 72 years, people can look back at that census and go, hey, there's my great-grandmother or grandfather. Vital records. In terms of collecting records for your people, vital records are your bones. Basically, they cover births, marriages, and deaths. Think legal documents. Again, you've got your two main groups. You've got public, which would be governmental, your birth certificates, your marriage licenses or certificates if they had a civil wedding, and a death certificate. Your private records, non-governmental, very much church-oriented, baptismal certificates, marriage certificates, and burial records. So important to know, you need to try to get vital records for your people. That's really the best place to start. Things to keep in mind as you're looking for records, and this is really important, the documents issued by an official entity can contain incorrect information. Humans create the records, humans can make mistakes. So always have a mind thinking, okay, this is interesting, note the information, but don't get hung up on it. Spellings. Don't be like my sweet husband who says that's not how you spell it. Really bothered him. There are many examples, especially in Spanish names. Vasquez with a Z and an S is Vasquez. Vasquez con B, like B burro, B vaca. That, I've even seen Benavides, as in Santos Benavides, last name spelled with a B de vaca. Espiricueta would be my husband's grandmother on his father's side. She was an Espiricueta, she married a Gutierrez. But very strange name, we think maybe Basque, but you've got Espiricueta with that silent H. I've seen it with an E at the beginning, and notice Espiricueta, and then the CU there, but then I've also seen it with Espiricueta with an S instead of the Z, an I instead of an E, and a QU instead of a CUETA. So you never know. There's also Hidrogo and Hidrogo, I and Y. We also saw in one of the examples last week of Jimenez, you can get it with an X or a J, a J. So you just never know. There's always more. Don't get hung up on it. But make sure that when you write it down exactly as you see it in the record. Transcribe it absolutely literally. And then, of course, you're making sure with dates and other information that's the person you're looking for. Sometimes the person indexing the record, especially when Family Search and Ancestry, they're unfamiliar with Spanish personal names, place names, and or they can't really read the handwriting. The handwriting on a lot of these 18th century, 17th century documents can be quite challenging, even the 19th century documents. So that's why things end up in funny places. So be thinking of that too. Go ahead with the next slide when you're looking for things, because you might find them under very odd spellings. Other things to keep in mind as you're searching. Additional name-related challenges, especially Catholic Church. This goes true for those French-Canadian Catholics who came to New France, like the Spaniards who came to New Spain. Baptismal names for boys often start with Jose, or sometimes Joseph, and for girls, Maria. You may never see that Jose or Maria again in any other record. My husband's grandfather, the one that was the son of Aspiracueta Gutierrez, his birth was registered in a civil record in 1890 under Jose Vicente. Did I ever even think that was the same guy? I skipped that record so many times, never even bothered looking at it. Ultimately, I went back to it and like, oh my gosh, this is my husband's grandfather. So you may never see that other name. Vice versa also can happen. Jose Maria de Jesus or whatever, you may never see anything after Jose. They may just go and use Jose. Same thing with Maria de la Luz, whatever. You may never see the rest of it. It may just always be Maria. So just be aware that can happen. Also, names and other phrases may be abbreviated. MA for Maria, ANT with the funky little superscript O for Antonio. You see it a lot for Tomas. So again, get kind of used to that. I did mention, on our first recording, the books that you can get via Family Search. There's one on Spanish records extraction, and there's another one on Spanish paleography. It's really useful there, and I did send in an email to those of you who are listening to this. The moral of the story, be flexible and keep an open mind. Again, I've already told you about transcribing things literally. Also, when you're writing up your findings, keep spelling as it is in the original document. It's just so crucial. Ways, looking at things, how to search. Here is our search page, searching for records on the Family Search. And in this particular case, I went ahead and did Jose Vicente Gutierrez. I just wanted to see what things we would pull up. And I wanted to put Tamaulipas because I knew he was from Tamaulipas. Didn't want to put anybody else because I just wanted to see what I'd come up with Jose Vicente Gutierrez. And notice I did have Mexico, and then I put the state in again, Tamaulipas. Sometimes when you're searching, if you start with too many items input, too much information in a way, it won't find it. Some of that's because maybe a date's funny, or a place isn't there, or the names are spelled different and it's not going to pick it up. I mean, sometimes they're really good and we'll pick up variant spellings. Don't start too broad, and you're going to see what happens when we go with Jose Vicente, pick up a zillion thousand records. But you might want to start just a tad broader and then narrow from there. Okay, next. Alrighty, so here we did search, and notice I've got a J. Vicente Gutierrez Martinez, Vicente, and so on. You'll notice in that first record, the Gutierrez Martinez, he's the main person. It happens to be a baptism, got the date, got where, Ciudad Victoria, and has a father and a mother's name. Now, looking at this page, and there were like 50,000 records. I mean, there's a ton of Vicente Gutierrez. And notice I said flexibility. Sometimes they'll give you a lot more. So in some ways, this name would have been better, and you'll see in a few moments, to narrow it down a wee bit. But this is what you end up seeing, and you can scroll through however many you want. Notice, too, on the right-hand side under View, important to notice you've got 3 different icons. You've got a little page icon, and that's going to just be the bare bones information in a text format. Then you've got a little family tree pedigree kind of icon that's on those lower ones. That'll show you what's already in, if you click on it, already in a pedigree chart format. And the cameras are the ones you're going to love, because the cameras are the ones that are actually got the digitized version of the document. And those are going to be your original document. The next one, you'll notice that under Search with a Life Event Birthplace, I put Ocampo. And I put a little check mark there because it's like, yes, it's exact. And I happen to know that because when I did find him, and it was Jose Vicente, although it is not the Jose Vicente Perez Gutierrez on that right side, I knew I was looking for Ocampo. You'll notice, too, that the records that have been pulled up, all 5 of them, do pick up a Vicente Gutierrez. They do pick up Ocampo in Tamaulipas. You'll also notice, so you look at events, and it says Santa Barbara, Ocampo, Tamaulipas. Well, when Nuevo Santander was being settled, and we had, I believe, Jose Escandon creating these towns, some 24-odd towns in Tamaulipas and Nuevo León, of which one of those is Laredo. and we were the only one with the center of the via, the iglesia, the church, founded on the north side of the river. Everybody else was on the south side, Reynosa, Matamoros, and so on. And the cities just keep going south. And so actually it started off being Santa Barbara de Ocampo, much like we were via San Agustin de Laredo. So just bear that in mind. Sometimes you'll see it when you're looking. You can't always pull it up under Santa Barbara. It just depends. Also notice all of these have text and also a pedigree, but none of them have a digitized document. This next one, just as an example, even though he's not related to my husband, is Mr. Jose Vicente Perez Gutierrez. Remember I mentioned abbreviations. Sometimes you'll just see a J for Jose Vicente. This also has an S for Gutierrez, also an S for Perez. You just never know. And I imagine if we did look at the image, those would be the spellings. Notice the little blue box with the exclamation mark on the right-hand side where it says this record came from a set of images. You will need to look through several images to find this record. Browse the film. Okay, what the scoop is, digitized images are coming from the microfilm that the LDS people had filmed through the years. I mean, they've been doing this for decades, just decades. And they would go around and send a crew out, and they would microfilm church records and civil records from around the world, basically. So the microfilm exists. It's got numbers, which you'll see in just a second. And below you'll see GS film number and so on. That film number is important. You can go to family history centers. Every major town that's got a church, an LDS church, will have one. Very important. Become friendly with those people because the family history centers are great places to be able to do additional research. And they used to send the films for a nominal fee, and then they'd help you use them in-house there. But, yay, if the film's existing and it's already been digitized, that's why they say browse the film. You can also get to them on the map when you're on that very first research page or search page that has a map, and if you click on the country, you end up with a list. And you can go through them, and literally it's like going through the microfilm, which we will see. Okay, indexed historical records. And I could put information in. Notice below the title, filtered by collection. So say if I wanted Mexican baptisms 1560 to 1950, well, I could click on that and it would take me to that file. Notice though at the very bottom I've got Mexico, Tamaulipas Catholic Church and a camera. That means that yes, that one's got the digitized images, so I might want to start there. But you got to look through it like you're looking through microfilm. So there's no index. You kind of have to have an idea, okay, what date am I looking for? Sometimes there will be internal indexes, but as I found with some of the later documents here, those internal indexes they missed my people. And yet I knew my people were in there. I found them, but I had to flip through some documents. Registros parroquiales, church records, church registers. This is showing you the one that it's for Santa Barbara de Ocampo, and gives you all of the bibliographic information. Notes, Mexico, Tamaulipas Catholic Church records are available online. Click here. So that's one way you could do it. If you wanted to see what other entities have that microfilm, you could then, where it says below, view catalog record in WorldCat, it'll show you which entities actually have the microfilm. There are libraries, universities, public libraries, that are affiliate libraries and affiliate with the LDS Church, the local chapter, and we're not quite there yet. So we're looking into it. Now, the film that you're looking at here is the view for film 0040333085, and it shows you basically what the multiple view looks like. And it's literally from the microfilm. That's why it looks that way, but it's so much more fun to look at. This shows you the entry page, just showing you when they film it, what it is, where it's from, what kind of records are there, dates, and when they filmed it. Alrighty, this kind of shows you the shape of records, so no wonder people can't always read things besides the handwriting. Some of them, like the right page, looks like it's torn, it's aged, may even be moldy or mildewy, so it's tough. You just do what you can. The nice thing is all of these, thank goodness for computers, you can enlarge images. Okay, next image is going to show you what on that lower right hand side, you can actually read it, you enlarge it, And there you go. This is really nice. This is a baptismal record. In this case, you'll get a day, 3rd of May of 1854. You'll get padrinos and Ramon, looks like Lozano maybe, that he's the priest most likely. So very short information, not parent, no, not grandparents, that kind of thing. So just so you know, different things that you'll find. Okay. And different quality within the same documents. Civil registrations. Oh, I love these records. They did 1,000, well, maybe even a million. Now they've got 1 million plus images. Civil records were made official and required in Mexico from 1851. So if you're looking for anyone from 1851, there should be at least a birth, maybe a marriage if they got married, and a death record on them. And these are astounding. I mean, these truly are amazing. They are indexed very well in Ancestry.com. I was going back and forth between Ancestry and the actual digitized images on this like it were a microfilm because they weren't indexed. So just bear in mind that they might be indexed in another entity. This shows you I was looking for, these are by town. You'll notice Upper Mexico, Tamaulipas civil registration. And I was looking specifically, I did think about Ocampo, but I was looking for something in Jaumave. So that's why it's underlined. And then within that, notice upper left hand there, Mexico, Tamaulipas civil registration, Jaumave. We've got defunciones, so your death burial records. You've got matrimonios, and you've got nacimientos, and the chunks of years. And then here we go. Here's the register of the matrimonies. The volume has no number, and this is for 1913. Notice upper left-hand corner there, not the top, but on the image, the microfilm image, it says image 425 of 642. This is the one that the index was not telling me names. I mean, they gave names, but they didn't have Chente's grandfather and his grandmother in it at all. So, actually, it wasn't his grandmother. It was the second wife of his grandfather. First wife passed away after she had a child, and the child passed away. Second wife is a mystery. Read the current 2019 journal of the Villa San Agustin de Laredo Genealogy Society for Maria Jimenez. She's the mystery wife. His grandmother was Arredondo. Okay, so that's, again, the main page. Here we go. There's a couple interesting things I want to mention. The presentación is actually on the right-hand side, but we'll look at it next. Notice on the left-hand side, in the margins, in this particular case, they tell you what it is. In marriages and the civil records, you'll find a presentación, which is similar to the banns, reading of the banns in church. Basically just noticing people, hey, these two people wish to get married. Are there any impediments to marriage? If there are, please let us know. This particular petición from Despensa of the publications Matrimonial wasn't because they were related. You'll find the dispensiones from the church earlier because small groups of colonists had kids, but there was still not a lot of marriage choices, so cousins got married, not always first cousins, but still, so, and that had to get a dispensation from the church. This dispensation was because Teniente Vicente Gutierrez was with the 27th Regiment, and he was getting ready to go to a battle. And so through this 1913 registro, you will see a number of guys getting this dispensation to, get married, to be able to leave the military for a little while so you could get married. This is the presentación. They do have some of the same information. Obviously, you're going to have the name of the novios and parents a lot of times. In this case, we do have that Vicente's father, Bernabe Gutierrez, ya finado, meaning already deceased, and La Señora Luisa Espiricueta de Gutierrez as his mom, who's alive. He is listed as an hijo legítimo. Sometimes you'll see it as H.L. and that just means that they're legitimate child from a marriage. If you see an HN or an hijo natural, that means it's a product of like a civil union or an illegitimate child. Oh, and then we have the matrimonio. Now, a lot of times, like nowadays, I know there's set dates depending on what town and state you get married on in Mexico. I didn't have to do presentación for my civil matrimony, but I was looking in Puebla's records just this week, current. And so they're still requiring it, so things differ. But in 1913, they were doing it, and then you have a matrimonio. When you look up records, a lot of times they're still both indexed as matrimonies, and you're thinking, what's the difference? pay attention. Is one the acta matrimonio, or is it the presentación? And you need both. Again, spell as you see it, transcribe it. It's got names of both sets of parents. Awesome. A lot of other information, names of witnesses. So it can be really, really useful. And it usually will have the origin of the person, so where they were born, where they're from, and where they're living. So at this point, there, we're just going to highlight some of the fun ones. They're all fun, right? Where do you look? We have some free ones and some not free ones. So free, family search. The other free ones are the second group. The first top one there, other databases specifically for genealogy. You've got your not free. You've got Ancestry.com, genealogybank.com, genie.com, and you've just got a ton of them. And many are specific to various countries or ethnic groups. There's a good one for French Canadians, which I subscribed to for a while, but everything was in French, and I don't read French, and it was getting hard to follow. So they're out there. You just have to look. Now, the ones that are free, I'd mentioned on those forms, they were National Archives forms. Well, there you go, National Archives and Records Administration. That's the URL, takes you to a nice page, a lot of links there. We'll get there in a moment. Library of Congress, they've got a genealogy section, and Texas State Library and Archives Commission also has genealogy. The TSL on the left there is the main site, and then the one on the right is their genealogy. And then Cindy's List, and then of course Simming a zillion other places. So many rabbit holes, so many. So what we do, Cindy's List, the reason, even though she was last on that prior slide, the reason she's first, she's like, think of a clearinghouse. This woman started this out in 1990 something, and it just went crazy. This isn't actually the site. This is when I Googled it. So you'll see up there, Cindy's List for genealogy, because that was the first thing I thought of, and Google it. There she is, cindyslist.com, and it is truly amazing. Anyway, Cindy's List, you gotta go. It's outrageous. There's everything, just everything. Charts, forms, databases, as you can see right there. You click on it and there's a ton of information, and notice she too has beginner's guides. And you know, it doesn't hurt, as I'm finding out, and I kind of already knew, but I like to just jump in with 2 feet sometimes. My husband drives him crazy because I'm not linear thinking, but hey, that's why I'm married to him. That you might get different tips, and not necessarily really different, but just different ways of thinking about things. So it's always fun to look at those. Now, next slide, we're gonna actually skip this one because we've been there last week. Okay, Library of Congress. And this one shows you when you get to the site that's the local history genealogy, look at all those exciting sites. Some of the ones that are super cool to get to that you wouldn't really necessarily expect. Allen County, Indiana, Fort Wayne there. That thing must be amazing. Now, it doesn't have necessarily everything digitized, but it's worth looking at because they have just amazing resources. And not all of them are just focused on North America. I mean, some of them are focused on Mexico. Then you've got the DR Library. Oh, look, Families History Library, catalog of the LDS Church. Remember, I said they're like the folks doing genealogy. And then you've got National Archives and Records Administration here, New York Public, and then the State Archives referral list. You also have some very specific groups. If we were doing African American, and then some broad things like American Memory is actually larger, not just genealogy. So it's outrageous, the stuff that's there that can get you in sort of more focused areas. Now we go to National Archives, and for some reason I got a second page on for National Archives. So bear with me, I didn't get that first page. And I guess the reason I was so excited was just to see other things that were out there. Again, tools for genealogists, free databases at National Archives facilities. Ours is in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Dallas Genealogy Society, which is OGAR, and I can't Hispanic, or I'm not going to remember the acronym, but they're very active and pretty good size. And so the Dallas Public Library also has a lot of good things in addition to the National Archives facility up there. Again, online research tools, related sites, catalog guide to National Archives, charts and forms again. So lots and lots and lots of things. The other cool thing is if you were looking for some events to look at, there they are. The censuses, actually, you can get to them through Family Search and also Ancestry and obviously National Archives. Oddly enough, that's where Ancestry and I believe Family Search get their census databases from. And then all these other exciting good things. All right, and then we have from there the Texas State Library and Archives, TSLAC. And these, of course, are our friends in Austin. Sadly, and maybe I'm a little bit embarrassed that I should be saying this, sad to say, but I have not actually been, I've been in the building, I've walked by the door, I have never actually gotten myself in there. Now, this would be a lot more important for those of us down here having Hispanic or Mexican or Spanish roots, and bingo, there's their big link to look at the genealogy resources. Probably wouldn't want to start with our archival resources, others, government agencies. So there's a lot of links back and forth between the entities, between like National Archives and Library of Congress and Family Search.